It is totally their responsibility. And if they had taken care of the business earlier, we would be in this situation right now.
The way that the game went and how egregious the referees were and how they were not protecting players, and they especially weren't protecting the number one player in this league, the biggest draw in this league, which is Caitlin Clark, and they continue to not do that. She's going to stand up for her teammate, and that's what she did in that.
The WNBA is facing a serious credibility crisis, and the Indiana Fever have reached their breaking point. What Caitlin Clark experienced in the game against the Connecticut Sun wasn't just a questionable call. It was emblematic of a troubling pattern that's been silently accepted for far too long. Now, that quiet tolerance is erupting into outrage as frustrations over inconsistent officiating and player treatment come to a head.
Is the problem. So many of these incidents are happening towards Indiana Fever players, particularly Caitlin Clark.
Instead of headlines celebrating the Fever's massive win and their well-deserved spot in the Commissioner's Cup Finals, the spotlight has once again shifted to how Caitlin Clark is being relentlessly targeted. This wasn't just tough, physical basketball. It felt more like a sanctioned ambush, with referees standing by as if it were just another night on the court. The Connecticut Sun didn't merely play aggressively. They looked like they were trying out for an MMA bout and somehow escaped without consequence. If you're tired of watching corrupt officiating go unchecked, it's time to speak up, protect Caitlin Clark. After the game, Fever head coach Stephanie White didn't hold back. There were no empty cliches or carefully worded statements, just raw truth, fiery passion, and a fierce defense of her player, as she called out a system that's been failing for far too long.
This first, I know you and JC go way back to the Big Ten. What was going on with the chippiness there, and what explanation were you given for the tech that you got?
I'll take the official questions.
Every highlight from this showdown is queued up because that post-game wasn't a rant. It was a reckoning. If this matchup taught us anything, it's that the WNBA hasn't merely struggled to adapt since Caitlin Clark's injury hiatus. It ignored every flashing red alert, and the Fever, they're officially out of patience, done playing polite, and ready to put the league on full blast in a high-stakes Commissioner's Cup rematch against Connecticut, a team that has mastered messy basketball and loves stirring the pot. Tensions were crackling from the opening tip. Fouls flew, bodies hit the floor, and it felt as though the referees either left their whistles in the locker room or saved them exclusively for Clark. Now the backlash is crashing over the league's officiating crew like a tidal wave demanding. Do your job!
Caitlin Clark are talking to the official. They're both going at it saying, hey, there's a little extra right there. Uh-oh.
Enter JCS Sheldon, whose on-court reputation this season has been less about finesse and more about fruit, frustrating opposing players like bowling pins. She's already left her mark by injuring Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Carlson, but it seems she had her sights set on making it 3 for 3, adding a little extra edge when it came to Caitlin Clark.
Her mortal enemy took out a player. JC Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy. JC Sheldon.
Sheldon didn't hesitate. She made a direct beeline for Caitlin Clark's face. Yes, literally. And in the chaos that erupted afterward, Marina Mabrey took it a step further, body-checking Clark with such force you'd think they were auditioning for the NFL Combine instead of playing a WNBA game.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabrey. I missed that one, Idona.
Oh, I missed that one too.
For fans watching at home, it was deja vu of the worst kind of greatest hits reel of cheap shots. From DJ Jane Carrington's infamous eye poke to Kennedy Carter's WWE-style takedown. It felt like a horror movie we've all seen before, only now it's being rebooted as a franchise in a single possession. Connecticut seemed determined to revive every dirty tactic from last season, unleashing a barrage of pokes, shoves, and body blows like there were bonuses on the line for each. Foul.
Claw someone in the eye. Eject her. Eject both of them. Eject both of them. So there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Nothing there. JC Sheldon claws her in the eye. Then the two of them get into it. And then Mabry just goes and shoves her onto the ground. Eject both of them.
And what did the refs do in response? Absolutely nothing. This was the moment the league should have stepped in and made a statement. You don't mess with our star. Instead, they did the unthinkable, reached into their pocket and handed Caitlin Clark a technical foul, as if she were the problem in a game spiraling out of control.
Wait, JC Sheldon got away with clawing her in the face. Caitlin got teed up for getting clawed in the face. They didn't even call it a common foul. They didn't call it a common foul. They didn't even call it a common foul. Oh my God. They don't care about players. They don't care about players.
You heard that right, no ejections. No technicals for the instigators. Just Caitlin Clark getting hit with a technical, apparently having a face. It would be funny if it weren't so infuriating. Then came the avalanche, fans, analysts, and former players weren't just annoyed, they were outraged, flooding social media with a level of fury that made ESPN trend like a scandal had just broken.
Tell you, social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way. That's the understatement.
The officiating was so absurd that Centel didn't even need to add a punchline. He simply posted the clip because the reality had already veered into satire. Even typically reserved commentators couldn't hide their frustration, visibly shaken, as Marina Mabry laid out Caitlin Clark with zero repercussions. There wasn't just a missed call. It was the referees throwing up a white flag and surrendering their credibility in real time.
Yeah, it looked like Caitlin got hit hard, both by JC Sheldon and Marina Mabry there.
I would not.
Even the usually diplomatic voices had reached their limit when Caitlin Clark got tackled, only to be the one penalized. That wasn't basketball. It was a parody of the sport. And this time, no one in the basketball world was laughing.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected. And that is certainly the case with the way things around Caitlin Clark are officiated. This is a constant problem now. You know, it is something that since the beginning, I've kind of like backed off on because physical play is a part of sports. You know, going after a superstar and trying to rough them up a little bit to get in their head is a part of sports. But when it crosses the line, the referees need to do their jobs. They need to do their jobs, blow the whistle, and officiate properly.
Everyone was waiting to hear from Stephanie White, and she did not disappoint. But before diving into that fiery, no-holds-barred post-game statement, there was a moment on the court that reminded everyone exactly why Caitlin Clark is built different. After being thrashed, slammed, and stomped on repeatedly, she didn't flinch. Instead, she took control, stepped back behind the arc, and buried a cold-blooded three-pointer right in JC Sheldon's face to ice the game.
All right. Here is Clark splashing home a three from way downtown.
You couldn't have scripted it better. Caitlin Clark didn't just win the game, she made a statement. Loud, clear, and from way downtown. And the best part, she let them hear it. The trash talk, the swagger, the unmistakable I run this court energy, it was all on full display. And it was glorious.
With her hand in her face. Competitive.
And then
came the moment that flipped the entire narrative. After the dust had settled, the Fever's official account posted a slow-motion clip of Caitlin Clark's reaction. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a celebration. It was a declaration, a silent, cinematic mic drop that echoed across the basketball world, leaving no doubt about who owned that moment.
And don't think we're skipping.
And don't think for a second we're skipping this next part, because it was the cherry on top of an already wild saga. The perfect finishing touch to a game that had everything.
Sheldon going coast to coast. And here we got another breakers here as JC Sheldon goes right after Sophie Cunningham.
Sophie
Cunningham, channeling the fury of a superhero whose origin story begins with someone messing with her teammates, deliver the perfect response. She didn't hesitate, just stepped in and dropped a textbook flagrant on JC Sheldon. Clean, direct, and impossible to ignore. It wasn't petty or reckless. It was precise and absolutely necessary. Sophie didn't join the fever this season to chase stats. She was brought in as the team's enforcer, protector, and moral compass, all wrapped up in one headband-wearing powerhouse. And now, anyone thinking of coming for Caitlin Clark knows there's a price to pay.